In preparation for today's video, our hero Murdoch X summons Brandon, the Avatar Professor and also the world's leader in airbending knowledge.
Hi, Murdoch X. Yes, I'm a professor of Avatar The Last Airbender.
So what's up with Aang's love life? Does that go somewhere?
Wow, what a good question. So, I hope you don't mind being spoiled, but the entire series ends with
No!
Yeah, It's a good one. But don't take my word for it. You can hear all about it on our podcast episode where we talk all about Avatar The Last Airbender with Murdoch X.
But I'm Murdoch X. I am here today with Lauri Thompson from the Poddin Together podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Avatar The Last Airbender for PlayStation 2. Today we'll be talking about Avatar The Last Airbender for the PlayStation 2. This is the first of 4 Avatar games developed by THQ Studio Australia, and this time around they decided to try making a dungeon crawler style of game like Diablo or Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. The first time I tried this title, I was excited to see this dungeon built around such a popular franchise, but coming back to play it further, I'm beginning to see some flaws.
Let's talk about THQ Studio Australia for a moment. This was a team tasked with shoveling out a new game every year based on licensed properties. Yes, shoveled. This is another shovelware company. I've never played Avatar, but I played a lot of licensed games that maybe left something to be desired in gameplay, but at least felt like you were playing in a world you love. This was not the case with Avatar.
Looking over the list of games they've developed, I haven't actually played any of these titles, but then again, half of the 8 games they've created have all been Avatar games, including the game based off of the Shyamalan movie for the Nintendo Wii. This isn't a promising start, but let's talk about the story for a moment. The story in the game seems to follow the lore of the animated series, but it's a bit heavy-handed. That is to say, the plot jumps in with "we're under attack, go fight right now" moments. The voice acting is nice, but the cutscenes are a bit off with the use of 3D animation and loud sound effects. Here, just go ahead and check out this section of the intro and see for yourselves.
Hey, Appa! Katara said she would go penguin sledding with me before training today. See you later, boy!
Jumping into Avatar is pretty smooth. There's not a lot of handholding, just the occasional pop-up like press X to hit. I like it when a game does this. No one needs to be told that the left analog stick is for movement.
The battle system here is pretty standard fare. Just spam your attack button and watch the damage number appear over the enemy's head. There are also combos and specials that are unlocked throughout the game via leveling up. These special moves, called advanced attacks, are performed by holding down the R1 button and pressing X, triangle, circle, or square. These are more powerful attacks with special abilities like knockback, and they require chi to use. As far as refilling your health or chi, there are items that can be picked up or purchased from shops and can be used from the item screen or by hitting L2 or R2. Also, enemies can drop little glowing orbs that will refill these bars as well, so there are plenty of opportunities to keep your head and heart full of love. By which, of course, I mean health and chi.
Unfortunately, even with the diversity of learnable moves and a combo system, the fights are dull. These battles are so boring that I just stopped fighting and opted to run past enemies instead. None of these guys are hard to defeat, but they're slow and monotonous. For example, when you use an advanced move that knocks back an enemy, you have to wait until they stand back up before you can attack them again.
These enemies just soak up damage, and the only reward is the invisible experience that you earn from defeating them. I guess there's the occasional super move, which is one of those slow motion finishers at the end of a fight. It seems THQ decided they needed to add even more slowdowns to the game. I don't know, I guess it looks kind of cool, but not enough to make up for these tedious fights.
Another quick note about these fights, in the first stage you'll be duking it out with these wolves who will pause and howl for a moment. This seems like they're calling for backup, right? No backup ever shows, and there's no way to beat them before they make this noise. I think that THQ may have planned on having an enemy system for calling in more troops and just sort of gave up.
Remember when we mentioned avoiding fights and running past? Well, good news! There's a game feature to make this even easier. Pressing the circle button makes our characters invisible for a while and can also be deactivated by pressing circle again. Just running by still works, but sometimes the enemies are hard to get past and they'll kind of clog up the stage. Sneak mode keeps them from gumming up the works. For all of the tiresome mob fights, we have the opposite with the boss battles. They're hard and frustrating. The first boss went well enough for me, but I had to let my AI helpers die as they weren't much help and I got sick of wasting health potions on them.
The first boss fight is this giant fire robot thing. Entering the boss fight had no build-up. I was asked to leave the village and then suddenly had the prompt to enter boss fight. I let Aang Dyer fight so I could use Sokka and his boomerang. After beating the boss, my game froze. I had saved right beforehand, so I tried it a second time and it froze yet again.
Wow, that's no good. It didn't freeze on me, but it was not fun. But now on to some other parts of the game. There are plenty of items that can be found or purchased besides the potions. There's also a lot of equipable gear in the form of armor and trinkets that will bolster your character's defenses and other stats. One of my minor nitpicks here is that when you pick up a lot of items, they slowly list at the side of the screen. Grandpa THQ thought things were going too fast again and added yet another delay. If this weren't bad enough, some of the treasure chests even drop multiple coin amounts that will be listed separately. Instead of being told you gathered 5 coins, you'll get a slow list of the individual amounts you collected. 1 coin, 2 coins, and 2 coins.
For me, there were a couple of times where I opened the chests and the items flung out in a place I couldn't reach, and so I just could not get the things.
At the beginning of the game, Aang is our only playable character, but as the game continues, 3 more are unlocked. We get Sokka, who has a boomerang attack, Katara, who has waterbending and healing abilities, and finally Haru, the earthbender. Each of these characters have unique abilities and playstyles, which makes for the greatest strength of this game. You have multiple characters running around and you can swap between them by pressing different directions on the D-pad. This would have been perfect for a multiplayer mode, but unfortunately it seems that a 1-year game development timeframe doesn't leave enough room to implement features like this. It's too bad. It could have helped this game out a lot.
On top of these 4 party members who run around and fight, there's also Momo to take into consideration, as you can switch to Momo mode. Momo mode. Momo mode. You can use this as an opportunity to just run around as Momo for a bit. There were Momo noises playing the whole time, and it was adorable and probably my favorite part of the game, despite not being what they intended me to do with this mode.
In this mode, Momo runs around looking for hidden crystals. I have no idea what happens if you find all of the crystals because this is the most boring aspect of this game. There's already items hidden around the stages to be unearthed via focus mode where you'll feel the controller rumble. You'll try to find the center of this rumble area until a notification pops up that tells you to press triangle. If you're playing the correct character, you enter a minigame and you can earn this item. If you're not playing the correct character, then you get to switch characters and try again, or wait until that character is unlocked. If you are able to successfully begin this focus mode, the game pauses again because someone at THQ decided it wasn't slow enough and a dull QuickTime event begins. Press the button when the symbol is in the circle. It's boring and easy, but it's still not as bad as Momo mode, which just so happens to be the same find the rumble area boring aspect of this game that keeps coming up. I suggest skipping it just like I suggest skipping the fights. There is no item in this game that's worth this amount of monotony. Some of the NPCs, on the other hand, will send you out on quests, but there are also some that will invite you to play the minigame called 4 Nations. This takes a moment to learn, and it's interesting enough. If you are able to beat the NPC in the round, they'll reward you with an item. This is one of the high points of the game, as it's neither too easy nor too hard, and it's free of needless pauses. It's a tile matching game where your goal is to force the opponent to not have an available move. There's a fair amount of luck involved here, and it does have a coin cost to play, but it's a nice distraction.
Let's take a moment to talk about the graphics. I noticed that the stairs in the game were just flat ramps with lines on them, but they also had ramps instead of stairs at some points. So they wanted to make sure that we had the illusion of stairs at some points, or meant to put real stairs in eventually and just didn't. It was a weird choice at any rate.
So now to summarize this game and give it a MSRB rating.
A MSRB?
So now to summarize this game and give it a WSRB rating. First, let's talk about the bad. The fights are so dull that I ended up skipping them. On the other hand are the bosses, which are unnecessarily difficult.
I'm fine with difficult, but only if it's difficult purposely and not because of a lazy game. This was the latter.
Then there are your teammates that never seem to help. And finally, everything is slow. The battles, the hidden items, even the pickups.
Also, this show was so good. It was well written with breadcrumbs for the whole series being dropped as early as episode 1. This game turns it into a bad guys come fight, you fight too. Also, the Avatar universe has such cool animals, and you fight boring old wolves in this. If that's not a sign the people making this had no love for the IP, I don't know what is.
But now let's talk about the good.
This game doesn't waste your time with the tutorial, it drops you into the game with the occasional helpful pop-up.
The Four Nations minigame stands out as something original in this otherwise generic game. And finally, the best part of this game is that you can switch between 4 unique playable characters. It's nice to mix it up a little.
Also Momo, I'm counting him. Look at him.
Quick note, I went and dug into some game guides before making this video and discovered that it's possible to break this game and make it unbeatable. If you do want to play this game, please head over to GameFAQs.com and look at the guides there ahead of time. Subscribe to my channel and her podcast. And I also have a Facebook thing now for you old people, so check that out. You know what, geez, I'm gonna make a list. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to her podcast, make sure to like this video, check out my Facebook page, and comment below about how crunchy peanut butter is the greatest peanut butter of them all.
Or if you think they're both fine for different purposes.
Who are you even? Ugh.
Oh god, this hat, it's 100 degrees. It's literally 95 degrees and I'm sweating.